Hello, friends. My name's John. Welcome to the very first Vigilant Co. podcast. Man, I am so pumped about all of this. A few weeks ago, some buddies of mine and I got together, and we've kind of always had this mindset of preparation, whether it's, for really anything. It could be for self-defense, medical, fire, you name it, we're thinking about it, And so we wanted to take our knowledge and our experiences and share them with you, our viewers. And I think it's kind of funny that I'm saying that, you, our viewers, right now, because at the moment that I'm recording this podcast, we have 0 viewers. We have 0 subscribers because this is it. This is the first. So be an OG. Why don't you subscribe, like, share this podcast if it's something that you find that helps you, educates you, gets you better prepared for what's going on in the world now and what might potentially happen in the future or what might not potentially happen in the future. It's all about perspective, right? Anyways, I want to talk about a couple of things before we get into this podcast with Brady and Zac, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in just a minute, but a couple of things about the Vigilant Co. Like I said a second ago, we really want to help people be prepared, right? Preparation is more than just, a lot of people would say, you're preparing for the apocalypse. Well, yeah, maybe. But here's the thing. If you're prepared for the very worst case scenario, anything less than that should be easy breezy, right? Shouldn't have any issues with being out of power for a few days, or if the grocery store is running short on anything that you might need, like toilet paper, hopefully you'll be prepared for anything along those lines, right? What about self-defense scenarios? We want you to be prepared for those types of things because we live in an unruly world right now. Things are crazy. And it's not the world that I grew up in, and I'm really not that old by any means, right? I don't know what's the new old these days. Is it 80, 90? I don't know. But we want you to be prepared for anything. So, yeah, it's self-defense. It's medical emergencies, fire emergencies, food shortages, whatever the case may be. We want you to be prepared for it as much as possible. And look, I'm just going to tell you now, leave us your feedback. Let us know if it helps you. The things that as we come out with these videos, all this content that we have planned, let us know if it helps you, and ask us questions like, ask us questions that would help us to help you, right? Maybe we talk about medical and we're talking about how to put a boo-boo aid on a finger, and we don't go over exactly how to maybe apply some antibacterial or something to a finger. Ask us those questions like, hey, maybe you missed a step. Guess I'm creating words now. So anyways, but if we miss a step or something, look, feel free to comment, email, whatever, we want to help people out. That's what we're about. We want to be of service to the people around us, to our communities, and that's it, So anyways, I do want to say, too, there's going to be 2, and I might have said this a second ago. This is like my second time recording this, so I'm really hoping that I get this right. But anyways, there's going to be 2 YouTube channels, right? So as you're listening to this podcast right now, you're probably listening or watching it on YouTube if you're in the month of October 2022, because that's when I'm recording this right now. Reason why we want to do 2 channels is mainly just because we don't want the algorithms. There's a couple of reasons. We don't want the algorithms between our main channel and our podcast channel to be conflicting each other and create issues. We want you to be able to find our content as easily as possible. The other reason is, like I just said, we want you to find our content as easily as possible. So we would rather not you have to sift through a whole bunch of videos once we get to where we have a whole bunch of videos on our channels. We would rather you say, I want to listen to or watch a Vigilant Co podcast. Cool. You can just go to the podcast YouTube channel. The podcast will also be on all of your regular podcast platforms. Right now we're just setting all that up. So at the moment of us recording this podcast, we're not on all of those platforms, but hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer before we are, and you'll be able to listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Look, I don't want to take too much more time. We don't have any sponsors or anything like that. We're not really doing it for those reasons. If we do get a sponsor, awesome. If not, I ain't sweating it. My guys ain't sweating it. Oh, let me talk to y'all about them real quick. So Brady and Zac, look, two great guys. Been knowing these guys for quite a long time, over a decade for sure. Brady and Zac both have military backgrounds, and Brady, I believe, was in the Army, and Zac was in the Marines. And I love these guys to death, man. I'm thankful for them both, and I'm happy to be a part, and I'm sure probably we'll talk more about the Vigilant Co. while we're starting all this and everything. But I don't want to take too much time, in this intro thing or whatever. I just kind of want to give y'all a little tidbit of what we got going on, what our plans are, and we plan to push out a lot of content. Hopefully we can do weekly, just kind of with three of us. We'll see how it goes, but that's kind of the plan. So anyways, Zac and Brady, they're going to be talking about in this podcast, Run, Hide, Fight. Had a little bit of a situation happen at a local store in our local area. If I can say local more, I guess that helps. I doubt it. But anyways, yeah, we had a bit of an incident happen in one of our local areas at a small store. And, it was frightening for a lot of people, I'm sure. And it just, it wasn't cool. I don't know if anybody was hurt or anything like that. I don't think anybody was. But once again, Zac and Brady will talk more about that in the video, in the podcast here. So just take a listen, guys. They're going to be talking about, like I said, Run, Hide, Fight, what their perspectives of that are. And hopefully it helps you out. So here we go. Run, Hide, Fight.
Hey guys, Zac Jeremy, my good friend and co-host here, D. Brady Holly. Just a little bit about myself, my background, 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, military police. I'm a veteran of the Afghanistan fight against terrorism. I was a machine gunner as well during that deployment. So I have a lot of experience on the SRT side of my MOS and the heavy machine gun and medium machine gun side. So I bring a lot, to tactical training, tactical experience, and kind of what we're going to be getting into today. My buddy Brady has got quite the resume himself as well. So.
Hi, I'm Brady Holly, and I served 8 years in the Army National Guard as a medic. We were activated for Operation Desert Storm. I am currently a firefighter, and I've done a lot of ditch medicine, car crashes, fires, all kind of the good stuff. And also, I'm a professional firearms instructor, and I can teach pretty much any kind of firearms related activities, and it's really where my passion lies.
Yeah, so today, and especially in light of what happened here, so for you that might be watching or listening that aren't from Louisiana, we're in Lafayette, Louisiana, small town around here, Youngsville, Louisiana, had a particular incident that happened at a Dollar General. So today we're going to talk about scenarios in regards to what happened recently. We're going to talk about run, hide, and fight. So this particular the scenario that happened and what took place actually, some man came into the Dollar General, basically robbed the place, went in there, shot a round. It was a round, or
Yeah, I think he shot around.
he shot a round in the store, commanded everybody to get down on the deck. And I don't know if he went by and took money from these people or what happened there. Exactly all the details. Then once he got whatever he wanted, he took off out the store, and in the parking lot took another shot at somebody. I guess that was pulling up into the parking lot. I'm not sure exactly what all happened right there. Then he fled, and a gentleman in the parking lot chased him down, and eventually the police apprehended this guy. But us as trained individuals, with our backgrounds, or anybody really that's trained in firearms and concealed carry, we always think that if something like this happens, we have a preconceived idea that we're going to take action, but not hold your horses, because not in all cases that's going to be what you need to do. So considering this, what happened, I would say each scenario is different. I mean, what you think about that?
Oh yeah, exactly. I think one of the major takeaways when you carry a gun for personal protection is to know when not to shoot. In a situation where somebody fires into the ceiling or at people, that changes the whole game. But if you're just involved in just a regular type of armed robbery type situation and there's no perceived threat of violence,
Yeah.
you may not want to take action because of just the legal ramifications that occur. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, just shoot the guy," and all this other stuff.
That's what they say.
But the legal ramifications can be pretty severe.
Well, it's not just that. One of the weapons rules we always talk about is know what lies behind the target. So if you were to try and take a shot at someone, you got a store full of people. I mean, I could
Right.
see somebody untrained doing it, and that'd be really bad, really bad. And like I said, every scenario is different. Every scenario is totally different.
Correct.
You have to be tactical, and that's where training. I find training would come into play. So if you're properly trained, I mean, you're gonna know when to take action and when not to. And as military veterans, we kind of take that for granted because that's ingrained in us. But to your average everyday person that might be a concealed carry holder, I mean, how often do they train? You know?
Yeah.
How,
As a professional instructor, I teach concealed carry for the state of Louisiana, and I can attest that the majority of people, probably not the majority, but a good percentage of them, when you ask them when was the last time they fired their gun, it was 5 years ago when they got their concealed carry permit. So that's
probably
kind of
rusted.
scary. Yeah, so that's kind of scary. If you're gonna be carrying a gun out in public, you need to be skilled at what you do.
So what let's take this scenario that happened in Youngsville, and it's kind of shocking because I've been here 10 years in the Lafayette area, and I've never heard of this happening. I mean, to like this, and the irony of it is we've been talking about this kind of thing, and it actually happened really close to us. So I guess based on this particular scenario, what if you were concealed carry, or so what action would you have taken, in that
Well,
particular scenario?
Well, it's really hard to say because I don't know what the layout of the. Well, I've been in that store several times, but I don't know where I would have been positioned in the store where
Yeah.
you could have taken it. Because if you were like right there at the checkout and somebody comes with a gun, it's very difficult to outdraw an already drawn gun.
Yeah, because they're already ready.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
and he's already had intent by firing a gun in the ceiling. So this guy is probably meaning business, and I don't know. It depends. You'd almost have to be in
It
that.
depends what position you are in
Yeah.
the store, though.
Yeah. So if I had a clean shot and I was in a position that I had first rule of thumb, if you get into a situation, is you need to find concealment and cover.
Yeah.
Mainly
give you a tactical advantage.
Mainly cover before you do that. If you look at movies and such, you get bad habits, or even a lot of times bad training scars. We go to a range and we're shooting from just one position and everything else, whereas in a range situation, a lot of times you can't move to cover. And that's your first thing. If there's a gunshot or something like that and you're not right there, you need to move to cover and assess the situation, because you got a little bit of time if you have moved to cover and concealment, then just to engage a person. The Buffalo shooting where the police officer or the security guard was killed. He was a former police officer, and I don't know all the particulars of it, but I have a feeling, if you do post certification, you're standing at a static position and shooting.
Scar.
So somebody comes with a gun, and all you've done is post certified training where you don't actually move off of your axis.
Yeah.
Then that training scar could get you killed. So we have to think outside the box whenever we're out in the public and so on and so forth.
So let's say in the store, I don't know how many people were in there. I have no idea. All I know is what I heard when they reported it on the radio. Let's say it was just a cashier. It was later at night and it was just a cashier, and the cashier had a weapon. I would tell you what I would do. Or if maybe there was one or two customers in the store, not a bunch. A scenario like that, I mean, I would probably be more willing to take action.
Oh yeah,
because there's less people that could be in harm's way, versus a store full of people. I would have to feel that my life was threatened, or that he was going to hurt someone else. Especially if he let off a round in the store.
Yeah, exactly.
So now to me it's game on. It's game on.
Yeah.
But I would be very tactical with I would have to do some concealment, like you said, and surprise them.
Yeah.
Wait for a chance. But that's not saying you have to do something. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing. I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough. That's a tough thing, and you gotta. That's where situational awareness and always being mentally sharp and trained and honed in on your craft as a marksman, or just somebody that likes to, likes firearms and concealed carry. That's where that's really important, because if you're not proficient and something like that happens, your adrenaline's pumping. You might not be tactically sound mentally as far as your thought process, and something like that happens, because fight or flight, right? Run, hide, fight. So you may climb up and not do anything, or you may want to do something and just
get yourself killed
and get other people hurt. So I think, kind of the way I think about any scenario, and especially this one, preserve life is most important, and last resort is to take action.
Right.
If it's so tough because he shot around in the store.
Yeah.
So immediately, myself, the way I think, I was like, all right, let's get at it. But then again,
Yeah, and if you're by yourself, if I'm by myself, I'd probably do something a little bit more extreme than if my wife or daughter or family's there, because my thought pattern is I carry a gun to protect myself and my family, and I pretty much have come to the conclusion that if I'm with my family, my job is their Secret Service agent, and it's to get them out of the situation. So, but back to the situational awareness thing, when you pull up into a parking lot, take a moment, kind of assess what's going on. Here's what I do, and it's a lot of times I'm not going to buy a drink or anything, because I'm trying to cut down on sugary sodas, but not today. Yeah, so
give me my sweet tea.
So when you walk into a store, You check out what's going on at the cash register. If you need to buy cigarettes, which I don't smoke, but if you're going to buy cigarettes or a pack of gum, don't go straight to the checkout. Always go and take a right in most dollar stores or most convenience stores. Go to the cooler. You can kind of assess what's going on, especially convenience stores, because the shelves are really low, and you can see what's going on. And if something feels unright, then you can either get out of the situation or have to act on it.
Yeah.
So what I do is I kind of move towards the cooler area, kind of check out the store and everything else.
Yeah.
And look, I want to be honest, this is probably your worst situational awareness killer is your cell phone. Because, if you're affixed to getting text and so on and so forth, and you're not seeing what's going on, it can cost you your life. I've caught myself, at the bank or something because somebody's texting me or what have you. And I'm like, hey, you need to pull your head out your butt and put the stinking phone down.
Yeah, situational awareness. How many times, like you said, like the phone, that'll distract us. And most guys are a little bit better, I guess, because inherently we're protectors. But I could tell you one of the things that would bug me when I was younger was my sister and her friends. They would go to like New Orleans and stuff, and just go wherever and like not even think twice about it. And I'm like, y'all are like some pretty girls. Why the heck would you be doing that? Not even, not even aware or completely oblivious to what's going on. I've always had that, but especially being a Marine and then being a combat veteran, I could tell you when I came home, man, I was looking at everybody, people watching like that was my job.
Oh yeah.
Just watching their hands and even to the point like when I'd go in a store or into a restaurant, I would position myself in a certain way to where I could see my exits and just kind of playing scenarios. And we talking about all this stuff and it sounds like, man, that's a lot going on in your head. But honestly, when we've trained so much in that way that it just becomes second nature. Yeah, you don't. Correct. It's not like you're going through all these tactical scenarios in your head. You just automatically, even for a second or two, we've done it so much that you just kind of know what's the best positionings and what could happen and what you're ready for. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me. I went to a gun class and we had about probably 6 or 8 students. Yeah, about 6 or 8 students. And we're all carrying and everything else. We go to lunch and it's like it was so funny to see all these gun guys trying to get that strategic position, and the rest of us is like, okay, we're depending on you because I really want to sit there.
I tell you this, like you go into the store, like this store in particular, like you said, if you have your family with you, I would be inclined to think that my reaction, I don't have a family or anything like that, so I can't say what I would do. But I think that if I had a family with me, like my children or my wife, taking action, unless our lives were in danger, I probably wouldn't even do anything.
Right.
Because I would actually try and get them out. That would be the first thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe go back and get some. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the way I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, because they're not trained like that,
Yeah, exactly. My wife and my daughter, when they're with me, if we're sitting in a restaurant, I always like to sit in a strategic position. And a lot of times we will discuss if something did go wrong, what we would do. Because we were sitting in a restaurant one time. I'll give you a good example. We're sitting in a restaurant and they kind of stuck us in a corner. And it was really not strategically beneficial, I thought, because I like to know
strategically beneficial.
Yeah, strategically beneficial. Because I like to know where you look at where exits are and stuff. If you're in a restaurant, look for, the kitchen. They always have a door there. Plus, they got a lot of knives and other sharp instrumentality. But we're sitting in this place, and they have like a plate glass window on the left side of us. And I tell my wife, look, I said, if something happens, I'm gonna take this chair, it's a metal chair, and I'm gonna smash it through this glass.
Some Ric Flair stuff.
Yeah, so I'm gonna break the glass, and I'm gonna egress through there. And I said, if it doesn't break, I said, I'm gonna draw my gun. I'm gonna shoot the glass, and then we're gonna go out this way. Because hey, we've been married for 20 years. I want to keep her for another 20 years. I
Right?
don't want anything bad to happen to her. So that's my thought pattern. And a lot of times, like when we first got married, she was always on me saying, "You're like a robot. You're just looking at everybody." I'm like, I want to know where everybody is in a place because I don't want somebody to sneak up behind us and so on and so forth.
Well, so situational awareness, we're kind of talking about that. And another thing about it is that, you know, people who do these crimes and what's the thing they do? School shootings and robbing stores, they look for a soft target.
Yeah.
And because they're banking on people just not
and they also
not being
and the
aware.
majority of them case the place to see what is a soft target. And
So
stuff.
I guarantee you go into Dollar General at 9, 10 o'clock at night or however late it was, that's a soft target, all day. They have an advantage. So if you're there and you have that tactical mindset, just being aware. I'm not saying like you're pieing corners and like doing stupid stuff like that. Like you're wearing a full kit going into Dollar General. It's full kit, and it's basically like just a mental exercise that you got to train yourself to just pay attention. That's all. That's really situational awareness is paying attention.
Yeah.
And if we could teach our family how to do that, that's a huge part of the training. But okay, so we talked about the situational awareness. The next thing, and I'm a firm believer in the way we train. We have a friend. He always talks about train how you fight. So training scars. You were talking about training scars. So many times we take these cool firearm classes, and whether it's military police school, post certification, anything like that, we fire and draw the way they teach us, right? But that's not necessarily always the right way to do it. We're letting rounds out so we could proficiently use the weapon, but that's just part of it. The other weapon is your mind and your mechanics and your body. Have any of you ever got in a fight?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face. I think Mike Tyson says that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same thing. If something happens, man, I could tell you, being a combat veteran, it's real. When rounds are flying or you're in a weird scenario or a scary situation, if you don't train with stress, that's probably the key part is training with stress.
Right.
If you don't train with stress, it's a fight or flight mentality. You might have all the training in the world, but if that stress combined with what's going on, you might clam up and not do anything. I've heard stories about women who get their concealed carry or whatever. They just might be proficient with a gun, or not really proficient. Really, that's not what it is. But they know how to function it, and somebody, robs them or something, and they get themselves in a bind because they can't even take the weapon off safe.
Right.
It's a fight or flight. Some people don't have that problem, but if you don't train with stress,
Exactly.
One of the things we would do in MP school is, and even in machine gunners courses, they would do heavy calisthenics, get your heart rate up, or I can remember in MP school, we'd actually run a lap around the building, come back, fist fight an instructor, go back, have to make an arrest, and then fight again. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And it was fun at the time, but the training was exactly what I'm talking about, a real life scenario like that,
Yeah. Well, even from a medical standpoint, because I did not serve in combat, but from a medical standpoint, we train like IVs, for instance. We train doing IVs. A lot of times it was just a bunch of drunk soldiers on sick call. But, we trained to the point that we just got it right. And I remember a situation where we had one of our soldiers who had basically he was in a heat stroke, and he was like cold, clammy. He was like bad off. And I can remember
Not the silver bullet.
just popping an IV, and it was almost like I was standing next to myself, watching myself do that. And the next thing you know, he's got an IV.
Because it was a real life situation.
And that was a stressful situation because like this guy is gonna freaking die if I don't do something. And I just basically just did what my training did. And that's the thing with the fight, flight, and freeze. You know, freeze is usually the third thing that could possibly happen. And a lot of times, if you have no training, you're going to always default to whatever your training is. And if there's nothing there, then you're going to freeze. But at least if you have some kind of training, like how to operate your gun under stress, how to draw it, you know, under your garment or what have you, and you practice that, and even dry firing or something like that, then you can get that gun, get a good purchase on it, and do what you need to do. In most cases. But then again, you know, there's been situations where police officers or even special force troops who have gone through bunches and bunches of training, like hundreds of hours, and they get into a situation and they wind up freezing. So a lot of times
it's not foolproof.
Yeah, it's not foolproof. But at least you have some kind of training and kind of a mindset on what you're going to do. And think of scenarios. Always think outside the box, you know, and always train for adversity. If it's raining, I'll go to the outdoor range because nobody else is there. But you're not going to be guaranteed the situation. You know, two things you're not going to be guaranteed is where it's going to happen or what's going to happen. So you have to think outside the box, you know?
Yeah. You know, the training aspect of it, you know, back again to like my deployment, you know, as when crap hits the fan, you know, of course they use other words, but when it hits the fan, it's the weirdest thing because like you muscle memory react and you don't think about it. It's kind of like you said, like you standing outside watching yourself, and next thing you know, the soldier had an IV in him.
Yeah.
You know, it's the training part, you know, from firsthand experiences. They would train us on this extreme stress at all times. And you kind of like, man, this is dumb. Like, you hate it. You hate it. They did that to you in the Army as well. You hate it, hate it, hate it. But when it really does happen, I can't say everybody responds the right way, but a large majority will. And you just react and you take action and then you think about it later, you know?
Right.
But you definitely have a better chance training proficiently under stress than not training at all. You know, just getting a firearm and learning how to shoot for a concealed carry class or shooting how many rounds?
36 rounds. It's basically, and here in Louisiana, other states have it a little bit better, like Texas, as far as the training and stuff. But in Louisiana, it's basically a gun safety course. Pretty much the same as a hunter safety course.
Just shooting a few rounds.
Using a handgun instead.
Dude, it's pretty much, I mean, I could come up with something to wrap it up.
So another thing we have to be concerned about is tunnel vision.
Okay.
Tunnel vision can be very deadly. Our bodies have a normal reaction that when faced with a stressor, we pretty much focus on what that stressor is.
Yeah, like
other things become oblivious. I've experienced tunnel vision before in situations, like for instance, we were on a fire call one time, and you're trying to put the fire out in this house, and so on and so forth. And I mean, the house is like just blowing and going, and we're spraying water and everything else, and we're like, okay, our mission is to put this fire out. And then you have somebody who calls and says, hey, the roof's fixing to fall in on you. Because we're not looking, we got focused on that particular mission.
Hyper focused.
Yeah, and then the roof almost collapses on us, and somebody, that's why it's good to have, if you have another person there who can kind of, be that second set of eyes and make sure you don't get into a situation that can be detrimental.
So we talked about the situational awareness, and you wouldn't think that's a big part, but it's huge. In your training, we suggest training under stress, and I'm not talking about like go get in a fist fight with your best friend and then go shoot a gun. We're talking about getting a heart rate up and just continually
be aware of not making these training scars. And that way, when stuff happens, you can function in the chaos. Another exercise, as simple as it sounds, is just mentally just be sharp. Be sharp on these scenarios and think about this stuff and what could possibly happen. Keep a tactical mindset and situational awareness at all times, and chances are you'll be fine. And of course, be proficient at your training, whether it's jujitsu, firearm, all that stuff, and depending on the situation, there's people who take action with what happened at a Dollar General that wrestle. They might have wrestled somebody to the ground, or they didn't always use a firearm. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
This could apply to anything, but and like we said in the very beginning of this, is that each situation is different.
Right.
It doesn't mean you always take action. You just gotta quickly analyze the situation and make the best tactical decision you can make on whether it's worth
Right.
worth it.
Risk versus reward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a brawler, so it would be hard for me not to take action. But I'm also wise enough and trained enough to where you pick your battles. Don't get yourself in a situation to make anything worse, than what it already is. And these things happen so quick too. Sometimes, man, look, it's not even worth.
Within seconds, most encounters occur. They're extremely violent, extremely fast, and they're over pretty quickly. And then again, when you're intervening in a situation like that, like several years ago, I think it was in Alabama, they had a shooting in a mall, and a good guy with a gun was going to the bad guy, and another concealed carry permit holder saw him with the gun and thought he was the shooter and shot him and killed him. Yeah. So, you have to weigh out a lot of those things.
Yeah, it's very situation dictates. So we'd say that in the Marine Corps all the time. Situation dictates, but you got to be trained and be thinking of as many scenarios as possible. That's a tough one. I mean, that's. I'm shocked that it actually happened down here. I mean, exactly. It's just the irony of it, because we're talking about
the robbery's not uncommon.
No, but the way it happened.
Yeah, but the shooting in the ceiling, that was kind of odd for this area. In New Orleans they might think differently, but
we're the capital of the world now.
Yeah. So
But to wrap it up, what would you say would be the first, so if a situation comes on like this, what would be ideal first? Would be preservation of life. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Make a sound tactical decision, the safest, and unfortunately, the safest might be ending the threat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, if this guy went into the store and didn't fire a weapon, or maybe not even brandished it, just claimed he had one.
Yeah.
Hey, no action. I wouldn't have but he did fire a weapon, so it's a little bit of a game changer. But I would say preservation of life.
If you can avoid the situation,
avoid it.
Do that.
If you're going to take action, be tactical about it. Element of surprise if you can.
Yeah, and just be proficient with the tools you carry.
Yeah, whether it's a weapon or your hands.
Yeah, your hands.
So you're in a store, man. You got many tools.
Handgun. Asp baton, or stun gun, or what have you. Know how to use these things, even if you're a pepper spray person, because some states you cannot own a handgun, or you can't carry it for your personal protection, and maybe you're relinquished down to pepper spray. Know how to use it, know how to get it off that little safety, and everything else just becomes natural. Because just because, the gun is not a magic talisman because you have a gun that you're going to be good to go. And I know we talk a lot about that because we're from Louisiana and everybody carries guns practically. But, there's people out here who are not from the state of Louisiana, and you have more restricted things. But if you can carry pepper spray or whatever is legal to carry.
Knife hands.
Yeah, just be proficient at what you are going to use for your personal protection. But situational awareness, I think, is probably the most paramount thing that you can do. Yeah. And I've gone so far as when I'm out in public and stuff, I will actually run little scenarios in my head. Like if this person approaches me, this is what I'd do. Look for egresses where you can actually get out of the situation. Because, like, any married person is going to tell you the best fight to get in is one you can avoid.
Right.
So, and the same thing out in the streets. If you can avoid a fight,
Or the fight comes to you, it's on.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's
exactly.
on.
Yeah, you don't want to back down at that particular point. But, yeah.
Hey, friends, hope you enjoyed that podcast. I hope it helps you out. Hope it helps you to be a little bit more vigilant in your everyday shenanigans. Look, if we get or when we get more information on what happened at that Dollar General, we'll put it in the description, or we'll do another podcast or video about it. But seems like everything worked out to the benefit of the good guys. So thankful for the officers and the people involved that helped the situation and didn't turn it into a worse situation than what it could have turned into. Look, keep your head on a swivel, man. We live in crazy times. I definitely didn't grow up in this type of world, this type of environment. I remember walking to school when I was a kid, right? By myself. I don't remember how far it was from my house. I know it wasn't very far, but just to say, I remember just walking to school by myself. And you can't do that now. If I had kids, ain't no way they're going down the road by themselves. My wife and I live in a decent neighborhood. Even then, I get a little concerned, a little on edge. I'm not going to be in fear about nothing because I've been working with my wife. She can handle herself pretty well now. But, I kind of get a little uneasy just because of the times that we live in when she just goes take a walk around the neighborhood, right? So it's important to stay vigilant. Keep your head on a swivel. If you feel like you got to run. If you have that opportunity. Hide if you have that opportunity. Fight if you have to fight, right? I know Brady and Zac talked about their perspective of run, hide, fight, and I think it's good. And it all is it depends, quotation marks there, if you're listening on the podcast there. But it really does depend on what the situation is, where you're at when anything takes place, in order for you to make a sound decision on what you should do next, right? The most important thing is for you to be paying attention. I think one of the most deadliest devices on earth is a cell phone, right? These things right here. I've got one. I'm guilty of it. I've caught myself many a times looking down at it while I'm in public, or even just sitting on my back porch. I'll be sitting there looking at my phone, going through answering emails, text messages, or whatever, not paying attention to what's going on around me. And then thankfully it would only be my wife or a neighbor come sneak up on me, and not really sneak up on me, but they just kind of pop up out of nowhere. It's because I wasn't paying attention, right? So it is very important for you to pay attention to what's going on around you. Notice your surroundings. Watch people's body language. I ain't saying be a creep. Don't be no creep. Now, if you got somebody creeping on you, though, run, hide, or fight. Best thing to do in any situation, if you can, run. Get out of there. If you're not there, you can't get hurt, right? But if your only option is to hide, find somewhere good to hide, preferably with solid cover. Something that hopefully a bullet wouldn't be able to pierce through, right? If a stray bullet, somebody's just shooting all crazy like or whatever, hopefully you're hiding in a place that a bullet can't touch you. I'm thinking right now of grocery store. If you're in a grocery store or something, a lot of times they have a big cooler in the back, a big freezer. Maybe that would help. Maybe that's something to consider. Run in the back, lock yourself in the freezer. Somebody will come see about you, I promise. and fight if you have to. If you have no other choice, or it's to protect yourself, your family, or those around you, fight. I don't want to have to fight. I will, but I don't want to. And it all is very, quotation marks, it depends. And so that's just it's one of the most important things, is to be vigilant so that you can figure out what's going to happen. Have a plan of some sort if you can, right? Once again, don't be in fear. It don't pay to be afraid, because if you get afraid, you can freeze. If you don't have a plan, you can freeze, and freezing can oftentimes mean death. We don't want that to happen. Or unaliving, as some, I guess, politically correct thing you have to do. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Some Black Rifle coffee. Don't know those guys, but, you know, I don't care. I love them anyways. I love what they do. And just in case I didn't say it earlier at the ending of this, when I first started this outro here, every morning, my wife and I walk her out to her car before she leaves for work. She leaves a lot earlier than I do. And we tell each other we love each other and have a good day and all those things. But we also say some other things to each other. Mainly it's me to her, but she repeats them back to me because I think it's a good reminder. I think it helps to be reminded to stay vigilant, which some of the things that we say are, look, babe, I love you. I hope you have a good day. Don't end up on Unsolved Mysteries. And she tells me, don't end up on Most Wanted. Trying to stay off that path, you know what I mean? But I say, don't end up on Unsolved Mysteries. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay alert. Stay alive. And she tells me the same thing. First time I told her, keep your head on a swivel, she looked at me and laughed a little bit. She didn't know what I meant. So I had to tell her, you got to just be vigilant. Be looking around you. Know your surroundings. If somebody's too close, or if anything, watch for cars. That's why you always take a triple take. Look left, look right, look left again before you cross the street. Hopefully you're teaching your kids that as well. Even if they're chasing after a ball or anything, they need to know, look both ways. That way, if you're not there, hopefully they don't put themselves in a predicament. The last things that we tell each other is stay alert, stay alive. That's from Mike Glover. I got that from listening to the Field Craft Survival podcast and watching their videos. I don't know Mike. I don't know any of the Field Craft guys there, but I love what they do. I love what they stand for. And, listening to their podcast has helped me a lot. So I really want to do the same thing, hopefully, for you. Brady and Zach do as well. So anyways, thanks for listening to this podcast, guys. I want to go over one other thing real quick, just in case I didn't just a few minutes ago. This is like my third or fourth time recording this, because the first and second time I screwed up. The third or fourth time, of which we are on now, I've done this enough times to where I'm not entirely sure where I'm at. I might have repeated several things multiple times. But anyways, I came out on the intro saying my name's John, and I'm going to keep it that way for a little while. I like my privacy, and I'm not some big, wig or whatever in any way, form, or fashion. I'm not even anybody of note. But I like to be private as much as possible for the time being, while also helping you as much as we can, right? So if you do know who I am, I would just appreciate it if you didn't share any of my information anywhere online. It doesn't matter if it's an email or a comment, a text message, whatever. I'm sharing this with a lot of friends of mine, some close friends. My close friends are no more than 5, no less than 1. But I just prefer to stay private for the time being. But when the time comes that I'm good with revealing who I am. I'll definitely do that. I won't keep y'all in the dark forever by any means, but at the same time, I just gonna stay in the shadows as far as my identity goes. So, anyways, we have a lot of things coming, guys. We want you to stay tuned. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Vigilant Co., and also subscribe to the Vigilant Co. podcast. Like, share, subscribe, and describe to your friends if you want to. But like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. Shoot us a question in the comments of what you'd like answered, things you'd like to see. Tell us those things. And we want to be as helpful as possible. Other things that we'll be going over other than just self-defense and medical is fire, survival, camping. What else? We'll try to throw some bushcraft in there and mobility stuff. There was something else that I just thought of, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I have no notes. That's not because I'm bad to the bone. It's just because while I was editing the podcast videos and things like that, I was like, oh, we need an intro and an outro. So that's what I'm doing right now. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Nope, I don't remember. Anyways, look, we can't wait to do more videos for you. So just keep an eye out. Push that little notification bell next to the subscribe button there. Remember, if you don't have the notifications turned on in the settings of your phone, you won't get notified by videos that we put out or any other videos or influencers that you listen to or watch on YouTube. If you don't have if you don't have that notification turned on in your settings, you won't get the notifications at all. So be sure you do that so you can get notified. Anyways, until next time, guys, stay vigilant.